1. Welcome to the 2.5 Citizens podcast. I'm Zen, and we got Marlo with us this week because Pablo's out there gentrifying Florida again. I think you're riding pontoon boats. I think he's tanning, which we're already brown.
And fucking a whole lot of Karens.
Yo, I'm gonna just say this because I think he's gonna be all right with it. He texted me specifically to let me know that he had his first Karen moment. Like I was supposed to do something about it. Like I was supposed to back him up and call corporate with him. And like I didn't even know what I was supposed to do because he's coming to me and he's still Karen. He still's got the Karen energy going on. Like he used the word incompetence in the text message. So that's how I knew shit was getting serious. He said we lost a night in our hotel and a massage reservation. I'm livid. For him to say he livid, he's definitely reached Karen territory. And I'm proud of him for like finally getting a hold of his privilege and feeling like he can actually exercise it. Because as minorities, it's very difficult for us to Karen out because we're like, yo, what if like racism somehow gets thrown into this against me? Possibly. It's just a thing. But let's get into a few things here. So for starters, we got Marlo back. What have you been up to since like the last time that we've talked to you?
Just stand up, man. Just working on my craft, making sure I can, networking, make sure people see me, make sure my comedy is growing progression, which it has. It is. I'm happy with that, man. Like every time I get on the stage, I can always see myself as a better version than myself I was before. So
that's good to see. Have you been like, I've been seeing social media has been like the prime way of promoting comedy. Has that been something that you've been dabbling into more as far as like putting clips out and stuff like that?
Not as much as I should, because I personally hate social media. Like if it wasn't for stand up, I wouldn't be on social media at all. Cause I just hate the act of like I feel like I'm tap dancing for likes and views.
It's like because I've been stuck in the same situation where it's like your craft is the stand-up. And for some people, their craft and their like, what they enjoy is the social media. So it's kind of hard to try to like be so passionate in one place and then have to fake it in the other.
Yeah.
Where it's like in a traditional sense, a lot of times you would get like people who do marketing for you, people who are like trying to push your work out there and that's their specific job. But now in this sort of like new age, you don't really have to have that anymore.
Yeah, I gotta do both ends, which one end I don't really care for because it's just not fun and it feels like more work. And like I said, I just feel like I'm reaching and I rather people just stumble upon me. Oh yeah, and then just follow me from there. But like,
I feel like that's the way you build the most genuine relationships.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people and it's a very difficult game because I've seen a lot of comedians that I found out about through the internet. But because I found out about them through the internet, I'm not always as interested in what the other work that they're doing is. Trevor Wallace is a prime example. He's the one that I like. He had been doing internet skits for a while. A lot of people, including me, found out about him when he did that White Claw sketch. The famous line, "Ain't no laws when you're drinking claws." It kind of shot White Claw through the roof at the time as like a specific type of thing. He does stand up, but he's so well known for these videos that I'm like, his stand up's cool and all, but like, when's the next skit coming out? You know what I mean? And then when I see him coming into town, I know who he is. Mind you, I wouldn't have not known who he was had it not been for these skits. But now I'm like, is it enough to drive ticket sales and make someone want to leave their house? Because they're seeing you on their phone. They're seeing you in the most convenient fashion. Is that enough to get people to get out of their house and then go see you?
Yeah, man, I don't know, because I don't know what the average social media goer like thinks about, truly. Because when I see somebody like these YouTube stars and everything,
yeah,
I don't care enough to go see their stand up because I know, all right, bro, stand up and you being on YouTube is two completely different things. That's a different skill set. And there's been times where comics, I have friends that perform shows featuring for these YouTube stars, and it's like I've been doing it's like they've been doing comedy longer than these YouTube stars, but they have a bigger following,
Right.
so they're headlining, but like their set is so worse than the actual comic because it's a different playing field, man. Talking in front of people is way different.
Gauging people's like actual initial reaction.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing with comedy is it's like the gym. You got to get those reps and you got to constantly be working at it, because if not, it's just not going to grow. You're not going to get good in front of different crowds, because it's like, especially when you're in your like, when you're featuring or you're, you know, hosting, or you're like an open micer, most of the crowd isn't going to know who you are. And that kind of helps you flex a muscle where you're not performing to your fans, you're just performing to people. And if you're funny, you're funny.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But if you're performing in front of your fans, you get a little more grace with people who actually like you, may laugh just because they like you, as opposed to like, can you make a group of strangers laugh? Which I think is like a big muscle that you work out in the clubs more so than you do like a big tour.
Oh yeah, man, because it's a whole lot of it's just a whole lot of building those social skills. You know what I mean? And you don't gotta develop a social skill when you're just behind the camera.
Right. You can just say something, put it out, and if they like it, they do. If they don't, they don't.
And not even that, you can put it out and you can like
Delete
proof
it.
watch it. You know what I mean?
Edit it.
Oh, you know, I don't like them edit together. Yeah. So
even here, sometimes I'll be saying some things where I'm like, man, you know what? I probably shouldn't have said that.
yeah,
Maybe
you
I'm
just edit that.
Let me just cut that shit out. That was a little
You
wild.
wouldn't even know the difference. You couldn't even tell the
Right?
difference.
Yeah, like that was a little wild to me.
You can't be on. You can't just with stand up is different. You can't just be on stage. But you know what?
Hey, I remember that joke I said earlier.
Forget
Scratch
about
that
it. Just
shit.
edit out. Yeah.
Hey, Men in Black that shit out. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
you got to work that shit into your set.
you got to just bomb and then say, next time, let me try not to say that.
But sometimes you can recover from a bomb. You know what I mean? It really depends on the person and just how you traverse it. But
I also feel like, especially people, a lot of comedy purists I hear have a problem with like the fake, reception from the audience. So like, let's just say they say something that the audience likes and they clap, that clapter thing, or this idea that like, because they're so big and popular and have so many fans that no matter what they say, it's going to be good. So I always hear of a lot of people trying to basically put themselves into a hole to have to dig out of it. Basically put themselves in a position where they're stressing, because that stress is what's going to like form the most diamond of material.
oh no, yeah, some big comics. I think I heard Bill Burr talk about the same thing. How like he gets to a certain spot, well he'll just say, "Go fuck yourself," and then people just bust out laughing.
It's one of those weird things, because it's like his whole, and this is another thing too, is sometimes it just seems to happen. So it's like you always gotta have a good base of your work ethic and what you're doing in the space, and then compound that with something that makes you pop and people find out about you and gets you over the top. So it's like Bill Burr was always talented, always working, doing his thing, and then the Philly rant goes viral. And then that's just him being like, fuck this crowd. I'm just going off on this crowd.
5 more minutes.
And then that blows him up over the top. You know what I mean? Like Pete Davidson had a whole, stack of trauma and accolades, and then,
and then he got in some Kim K pussy.
And look at him now. He's in hella movies. Mm-hmm. He's in hella movies. So it's also, I think, about not, because in this case of some of these YouTube comics, if they blow up too quick before they have a solid foundation below their feet, it's real rocky to try to ride that wave when you have like no actual experience really in the craft, and people are going to come to see you expecting you to be as good as like 10-year comics. I feel like T.I. has that kind of big issue.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because it's like you're known for something that you're not showing people right now. Like, all right, if you're bombing, I don't know if you can just switch on to some of your songs everyone knows and try to save. I don't know if you can switch art forms real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're bombing in comedy, you're just bombing.
Yeah, bro. He was bombing. I can't remember where at the Apollo, and he just decided, hey, just play one of my music. Play one of my songs. I'm like, dude.
That's like a cheat code.
I'm saying,
pull you out the hole. Like, come on, dog. Like,
and then he had the audacity to say that stand-up was easy. Like, okay.
Here's what I think. Some people speak in funny. I think some people's language is funny. They know how to make people laugh, but that's not enough in a lot of cases. Sometimes you can just say things funny and it makes people laugh. But there's the whole art of crafting a setup punch, misdirection, this whole actual art to comedy. And I don't know if you can just like make up big words and it just be funny all the time. And I feel like that's where he thinks it comes from. He's like, yo, I say Fergalicious or whatever I say.
Indubitably.
And people think it's hilarious. I'm like, it's not, you know what I mean? That'll work as a tag in a situation possibly. But as far as like having material that is well crafted and has been like rehearsed and worked amongst all sorts of different crowds, that's a whole different thing.
No, yeah, it is, man. It's a beautiful thing, straight up. But I can't, man. Yeah. So, like you said, there's some people out there that just have like a natural ability. They're funny. You can just feel it. But just because you're funny, you still got to put in the work to write the material and all that, and just construct a good bit. There's a whole bunch of there's a whole bunch of people out there that are just you talk to people on the street, you talk to people all the time. People out there that are just naturally funny. But like if you put them on stage, there's a huge disconnect because they don't know how to articulate the jokes, whatever funny thought they have in their head. Because it's different from talking in person than it is to a whole group of people.
By yourself, where they're looking at you and they're like, you better make me uncontrollably laugh. You better make me laugh, and I shouldn't have expected it.
Yeah.
And like, I think that this word comedian has been thrown around a lot lately very willy-nilly. I'm not 100% sure if you've been feeling that way. I was literally having a conversation with someone yesterday.
I don't feel that way at all, but continue.
I was literally just having a conversation with someone yesterday around the secret group. So I'm like at a bar around the secret group, and someone comes up to me and they're asking for a cigarette. And I'm like, all right, cool, I get it. That's what happens out here. And I said...
sprays me next.
And so I was asking,
what do you think about this, Marlo? Like, what the fuck do I do to you?
I don't know how it even came up, but somehow our group asked him what he did or something like that, and he said he was a comedian. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, are you like performing here at the secret group down the street, or? Oh no, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a stand-up. I'm more so just, like to write comedy. I'm like, okay. Just like punch things up, kind of just, I don't know, like I have a real job off to the side, and, I can't really just be putting my, standing up on stage and just talking. And I'm just like, man. Okay. So in my head, I'm just like, all right.
So, to them yesterday?
I was having this conversation with someone at a bar, and they were just like, this is what this person was telling me.
Okay.
And part of me is just like, okay, so I'm just trying to understand like what comedian means now then. You know what I mean? Like what creative avenue is your comedy being funneled into?
No, when I hear comedian, it's stand-up comedy.
That's what I'm saying. So when I'm hearing people say like, that's why even though I would consider this a comedy podcast, I never feel like I'm a comedian, because I'm like, that's a whole different thing. For you to just make funny jokes around people and do locker room talk is one thing. To stand in front of people who don't know you and make them laugh is a whole different skill set. You've been talking to me about this show that you got coming up. Is it going to basically be like a weekly thing that you start doing from then on out?
It might. I'm probably gonna have it be monthly until it's weekly. I want to do it. I'm not even charging. This first
you were trying to just kind of get your bearings in of
I just want to see how it goes.
Get the vibe going,
and depending on how I like it, if I can see a future in it, if I can see a vision after I do the show, then next time everybody's paying.
And next time, open your wallets up.
Yeah, open your wallets up, and and I might do it probably the next month, and after the next month, I'll try to make it a weekly thing. But
that's cool. So the first one's September 5th at Natsuo. That's Houston backwards.
Backwards, yep.
And so you were telling me basically it's a lot more of an intimate room on the upstairs. I don't think I've ever seen the upstairs. It's basically you're saying it's more loungy. It seems like small. Are you talking like the big box? Not the box. Okay.
The upstairs is really big. They have what's it called when you go to like have you went to like Space Center in Houston and you went inside like a dome and you saw the stars and stuff?
Yeah.
They have like a smaller version of that, like inside, like
almost a planetarium type thing.
Yeah. And it's a terrific spot. We can smoke weed in that motherfucker. You can smoke cigarettes in that bitch. So you know
That's wild.
you know what I mean. But it's such a comfy spot, bro. The guy who runs the upstairs, his name is Shaka.
That's an intimidating name. I ain't even gonna front. If someone's
Intimidating, but it's still chill at the same time. I don't know. If I met somebody named Shaka, like I know this nigga probably smokes weed or, if anything, sells it.
right, he's not doing something normal or traditional with his life. That's like the male stripper name. I feel like if you have a name like that, that's like the equivalent to meeting a diamond.
Oh yeah, the bachelorette party. Oh, here comes Shaka with his.
yeah, because it's like whenever you meet someone named Diamond, you're like, all right, come on, like no one's around, just tell me the real name. You know, you feel me? That's like that. Like, yo, come on, you know you got a government. Like, you know you got a government that you're not, and you're hiding behind. Because it's like, is it shock like with an A or with an ER? Like, are we doing? Is it a hard R?
What?
On his name?
No, it's not Shocker.
Because that sounds intimidating as shit.
Shocker. Shocker.
Like that seems like a villain from a Batman movie for sure. The Shocker. If the Shocker came up to me,
is a villain from Spider-Man.
All right, see, I knew it had to be a villain of some sort. I'm like, that just sounds mad intimidating. That seems like something that I'm not 100% sure I want to be a part of.
Villains.
But Shaka seems like
Shaka Khan.
Like something you could just yell out like in an alley for no reason.
Shaka.
Yeah, like so.
But it's not SH. It's CH.
God dang it! Now this
like
gets so it's like chalk.
Yeah, it's like chalk, but you got to say it like Shaka.
All right, I'm all right. But you have to.
Anyways,
it's like when you have to say it with an accent. Like I almost feel like you gotta like add some sort of emphasis in the accent. Like I feel like if it's spelled out, there's a random symbol on top of one of the letters for some reason.
Yeah, the way you say his name is definitely overseas. You know what I mean? Somewhere in Nigeria.
Like you have to say it in a way that no matter what language you speak, it all gets pronounced the same.
But yeah, Shaka, he cool dude, man. Turns out he's I don't want to say good friends, but he knows Chappelle's sister.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I mean? But he's a cool dude. He's black. I'm just gonna put it out there. But yeah,
let's just get that out the way.
He's Shaka, black dude, and very enthusiastic about just letting artists spread their wings. Like I told him my idea, and he was like, "Cool, bro. If you talk to what's his name, I'm cool with it. You got the show together, make the flyer. It's cool." So
that's cool. That's cool that there's places here in Houston that are like letting artists shine and trying to be like at the forefront and recognizing talent early on.
Yeah, because I went to a few venues. I remember it's probably like my year and a half of starting comedy. Because I went at my own spot. And then there was a whole lot of them that were very just standoffish. Like, okay, so how do you want to like this? Oh, we don't want to do a little comedy. We want to do. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? But it was the first time I went to someone. They were just so open. Bro, yeah, send me the email of your flyer, then give me a date, and we're good. I'm like, oh, bet. That's what's up. I'm looking forward to it, man.
And is this a place that traditionally, I know it's more of like a bar club downstairs. Is it a place that generally does comedy, or is this kind of going to be Knoxville's first introduction into like having a comedy night?
Yeah, Knoxville's first introduction to having a comedy night. However, the bar right next to it called Dean's, they have a comedy show like I think the third of every Tuesday or Friday. I can't remember the exact date, but it's like once or twice a month.
It's such an interesting thing. Like everyone can get like one little comedy night off, but it's like I feel like it's very difficult to have like a business afloat that's like just comedy, especially in Houston. Like there used to be so many places like the Laugh Stop and stuff like that have all.
The Improv, you know what I mean?
Oh, of course, because that's just going to be like you're going to have the big one, the big club, and then from there it's like the theaters. But as far as like small clubs, I feel like it's really just the Secret Group as far as...
Yeah, Secret Group does comedy every day, but like, just from what you said, they don't make their money from comedy. They make their money from Y2K concerts, the emo nights and all that stuff.
Oh, now they're having all of these like underground like music shows, and I feel like that brings in more door.
Yeah. But it's just best of both worlds. Sometimes you bring people from emo night, they didn't know Secret Group had comedy. They're going to see the comedy show like, oh, this is another thing to do. Well, I'm here. I've
been there for Y2K night, and I've been seeing comics over here trying to peel people away from, trying to peel people into comedy, just barking inside the club.
I personally hate I hate the emo night. I hate the Y2K spots because it just. I'm so used to secret group being packed. I mean, being like not packed, just like filled with comics. At least on the roof. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the roof on a white. Oh my. So I ended up stumbling into the secret group on emo karaoke night. Wasn't even just like emo dance night. It was emo karaoke night. So this is people who want to sing their hearts out to these old emo songs. They're not doing well in life. They're trying to reminisce and they want to get that out vocally. The roof was ridiculous that night.
Oh man, sometimes I play rap music just to clear the room.
No, the roof was like, I felt scared. Like the types of outfits and the types of people that I was seeing made me fear. And mind you that so I identify as previously identifying with that emo culture. So I get it. I know I was there. There's a terrible term, which I'm never going to give myself, but that's out there called an elder emo. That is idealistically what people were out here. It was just elder emos in this roof. And then you just see one wild table of comics and then like just elder emos all around you. It was a wild time up there.
Yeah, man. Like usually at the secret group, I like going up there, smoking my cigarette, and just looking at the city and just brooding. I'm like, it's kind of ironic I can't do that with all these emo people here. You know what
Yeah, I know. They're over here talking about, you'll be seeing them, they're like full-on black eyeliner talking about the stock
like,
market.
Bro, I cannot be in my emotions with all you emotional motherfuckers up here.
Y'all's emotions is throwing me out of whack.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Killing my vibe.
Yeah, I can't be here with my own emotions. But it's been weird. It's been interesting to actually just kind of see it. I've seen it when it's just comics and I see that vibe and it's like cool. And then I see when like random stuff's happening there. When random events are happening around the secret group, there's more and more places opening up there. It's becoming more and more of a hub for like a nightlife.
Yeah, the weird nightlife. The weirdos that run around. They can't go everywhere.
they're like the only little men around here.
Yeah, I was saying, well, come inside. Was it from the He-Man's Woman Haters Club? That's pretty much what it is. Just exclusive.
Just Andrew Tate fans. Have you been seeing Homeboy on the internet?
No. Who is that exactly?
So Andrew Tate is a very curious case. I've been talking about him way too much on this podcast because he's the most entertaining person on the internet right now.
All right.
So he's a former kickboxing champion. And his dad was a master chess player. So he runs his whole life like chess. He has all this money and he flexes it. His whole thing is, what color is your Bugatti? Which I like being like, you don't have one? Well, why don't you have one? Why don't you have $1 million? Why don't you have this? He has a master class that he teaches all this stuff on. And lately he's become the most entertaining person on the internet because he cracked the code. So he has all of these followers on his master class that he's teaching them how to make money and he's teaching them how to be a man or whatever. He says crazy misogynistic things, basically. That's what he's known for right now on the internet. He'll say things like women shouldn't drive. Women should, although...
Well, they shouldn't. No,
he goes like most of the problems in the world would be fixed if women had their body count on their forehead.
Women shouldn't be driving men crazy. That's the whole thing.
He says all this stuff about like, as a man, you want someone who's a virgin and that, 19 to 20-year-olds are more attractive than a 26-year-old because they've had less life experience.
Wait, what? Wait, repeat that? I didn't get that. I think I misheard that.
He basically says, look, everyone thinks that it's weird that guys are always going for younger girls, but it's just what he'll say is that basically when you look at a girl who's 19 or 20, that's more attractive than someone who's 26 because you know that she's, in his words, been through a lot more dick, a lot more trauma, a lot more problems, seen a lot more, and then you have to deal with all the bullshit. You want to find somebody who hasn't been corrupted by the world in the Matrix yet, where you get to make them a good person because there are some of the people they hang around with. Women don't have very many ideas of their own. They usually mimic the idea of the man. So if you instill good ideas from the start, then you'll have a good woman. It's all this crazy, red pill type shit.
I don't think that's I don't think that's far fetched.
And that's what people end up saying. So he's been very controversial for these reasons.
I mean, like, I'm not saying like date underage women, but like,
right, but
I do understand the, like, women like it was this chick I was talking to, and I liked her for the simple fact that she was my age. You know what I mean? And I've talked to women that were older than me, and they've been through so much shit. Like you said, so much dick. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't want to be another dick. You know what I mean? Just for you. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, a woman's body. They say a woman's body is like a temple.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's something that should be cherished. And it's a temple, dude. And like, there's some women out here that are like giving away their temple for $20 subscribers. You know what I mean? Like, it's a subscription fee for, if you want to fucking talk in here. Like, what the fuck? Okay. But yeah.
And that's the thing, is that I think he's saying things in a world where we've kind of pendulum swung so far in one direction that some people feel like there needs to be a correction. And I feel like he's tapping into a certain group of people, but it's of course causing just a lot of controversy. Here's the interesting part. He can't really be canceled for the fact that all the internet content that's been going out around him hasn't been put out by him. He's told his followers of this Hustlers University, if you want to make money on social media, that's one of the best ways. If you don't have any content that you want to make or anything, clip up my content, put it up. I don't care. You can use my stuff. And what that's happened is there's a bunch of accounts that are in the algorithm posting Andrew Tate content. So it's just being seen everywhere. It's like in every freaking algorithm. You can't cancel him because he doesn't have an account that he's posting on. All of his people are posting these reposts of him and stuff like that. So he became like the most searched person on the internet in like 3 weeks by just being flooded in the algorithm. But now here's the interesting thing that's happened, and it kind of wants to lead me into something else that I want to talk to you about. He recently this week has been the breaking news. He got banned off of Facebook and Instagram. So that's the only place he had like an actual page, I think, of like him communicating with people.
Or say in order for that to happen?
He has now come out and said it's been a glitch. He says it's a glitch. People are saying he violated rules because here's what's basically been happening. Everyone has been such a curious case of him. Some people love him, say he's got good points. Some people say he's corrupting a generation to belittle women. A lot of people are saying different things, but a lot of things that has been coming out is people have been accusing him of like sex trafficking, basically. So the way his origin story comes of like him getting a bunch of money is that he's sitting around trying to like figure out, how do I get money? What are my assets? What are things that like I have that I can like leverage? And he's a kickboxer, so he had like 5 girlfriends from around the world or around the whatever. And he said, well, maybe I can leverage that. So long story short, he gets all these girls and proposes the idea of webcamming. They're going to webcam. He's basically going to be a webcam pimp for his girls. Mm-hmm. Some leave, some stay. He grows from there, and he starts making crazy money off of basically webcamming these girls. But what he would do is like, he would say that women don't know what men find attractive. So what he would do is he would have them look like they're typing, but he would actually be the one typing back to these dudes. Because he says crazy things like men like a woman who is innocent. They don't want, every time I'm talking to a girl and we're talking about a place, I don't want to hear the girl say, oh, I've been to that place. Because the only thing that I'm thinking is, what dude took you to that place? What dudes were you with for you to have gone to that place and going to all these different places? That's just showing you're doing too much. You should be waiting at home for a good man that's him, and that from that.
See, and that's what it's a double standard. That's pretty much how it is. I get what he's saying, truly I do, but at the same time, like, women are people too. Like, they have the right to go out and do whatever the fuck they want. But just how men are attracted to women. Like, you're lucky. You're like married, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you only got to go out there and search.
Yeah, like, I'm done with all that shit.
Yeah, and
I just get to womanize from afar and shit now.
How long you been married?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. So yeah, so you married 23, 24?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, because I'm 26 now, so.
Yeah, and then is your girl like the same age as you?
A year below me.
Year below me, so she was like 23.
Yeah, some shit like
so
that.
she's still young. She doesn't, I don't know her sexual history, but I'm pretty sure it's not as large as women who are still single.
He'll say a lot of these controversial topics that create conversations like we're having here. And so now he's been banned. Mm-hmm. So his page, personal page or whatever, on Facebook and on Instagram have been banned. That's not stopping clips circulating, I don't think. In my opinion, not stopping any of the messaging. It just really stops his side of the story.
Yeah.
His side of the narrative. We've been seeing this a lot with social media sites. The censorship. This idea that the social media site can choose what can and can't be talked about. So like this conversation couldn't happen even if he's wrong. Like even if everything he's saying is 100% crazy. We can have the conversation on why that's crazy, give an opinion, talk to people about what we really feel and what we think maybe is the more reasonable way to go about it. But basically, you need to have the discourse in a public place. You need to be able to have this conversation and not just kind of like erase history in a way and just kind of ban it and be like, this isn't allowed to be talked about here. I know sometimes it's not a good messaging, but it's also like subjective.
Everybody deserves to have their opinion, and everybody deserves to have just their opinion, and everybody deserves to look at that opinion from a different perspective. Like even though you might not agree with it, even though you might not, to quote Dave Chappelle, even though you might not consume it, it still should exist. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the kind of thing that we've been seeing, of course, a lot with comedy, right? Like you've been seeing it with Chappelle, and I know why it seems wild sometimes where you're like, Chappelle, why are you so obsessed with trans? But I think he's more obsessed with why can't we have this conversation?
Yeah, it's not and this is the big picture. It's not the trans issue. It's the fact you're telling him he can't say those things. And bro, he said it in his it wasn't even a special, but him.
It was so the school and that was wild to me because I'm like, they let you put anything up as a special, dog.
But it was still interesting. I was still entertained.
I watched the whole thing. Like I wasn't even gonna watch the whole thing. I ended up sitting through the whole thing.
But he said when you tell him that he can't say something, the more urgent it is for him to say it. And I feel like that's true. Like how can you tell someone what they can and cannot say? How can you not tell? You know what I'm saying? It's not even a politics. It's like it's an artist. He's a comedian. How can you tell a comic what they can and cannot joke about? What world are we living in? You know what I mean? There's no law. There is no law that says you can only say this, that, or the other. You know what I mean?
It becomes a social thing, and it only gives
a social thing. And everybody's social skills are different. So how are you gonna conduct? How are you gonna say like this is what you should be? Like that's so ridiculous to me.
What I think is weird to it is I always end up feeling like I'm a broken record when I circle back to this. It's like a social media problem where it's like everyone feels like this is what's cool and everybody has to be on the same accord because everyone's talking on the same accord. Before, you just thought the way you thought in your town, and maybe you read the newspaper and you talked to your friends around you and your family and you guys all had an opinion on something and everybody else was doing their thing on the other side. Now we're all connected and we're looking at each other and we're like, wait, am I supposed to? Even in the trans issue specifically, because it's such a small amount compared to the general population, in your everyday, you're not actually having these issues. If you did, you would have a certain opinion. Like you don't in your everyday life have a trans person who's trying to use your restroom for that to even be an issue in your life. But you're seeing it online, so now you feel like you have to have an opinion on it. No one saw it back then and they were able to just like live their lives as normal. So now I think it's like fighting back about like everyone having to have the same opinion. I think we're finally starting to get out of that a little bit, but it's going to cause a lot of fighting. A lot of we're on this side. But for us to understand that, hey, sometimes people can have a different opinion and I don't need to convince them to like share mine.
Is that just because somebody has a completely different opinion from you does not mean that person is evil. Does not mean that person is just like a shitbag, an asshole. It's just a matter of perspective.
And usually means they've just lived life in a different
way, bro. I got friends. I grew up when I went to college. I had friends. I went to like college in Lubbock, and I had friends that would say the N-word. White people that would just say the N-word. Yeah, man. It's not in a malicious way. They wouldn't use the hard R or anything like that. But it'd be like, yo, what's up, nigga? This, that, and the other. Kind people, bro. Took me to their house. You know what I mean? They had their parents feed me and everything. Treat me like I was part of the family. But it's just
the way they grew up. They felt like that was
it's just the way they grew
okay
up.
for them. And then now they're living in a world where they have to like look around and people are telling them that the way that they've like lived life their whole life is wrong. So from there, that kind of makes people upset and gives people, not everyone's just going to be like, oh, okay, I was wrong my entire life, cool, and move on. I mean, people are going to have pushback. People are going to feel a certain way.
People forget it is hard to change your core self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you've been taught a certain way from childhood, that's a habit. You know, and habits learned young are harder to get rid of when you're older. So it's hard, dude. But like, I feel like people, you can have a bad habit, or not necessarily a bad habit, just a habit that you were taught young, and you know it's bad. You have that mindset like, okay, this is fucked up, but you're so used to it that you just kind of tread the waters. Okay, I know it's bad. Just let me catch myself. Sometimes you don't catch yourself, but man, ain't no big deal. As long as you ain't out there hurting nobody.
And that's the thing is it is always to me seeming like intent, and that's the big thing with like jokes. You know what I mean? Even with this Andrew Tate thing, it brings me back to basically the censorship thing. So nowadays, you're gonna see people put out specials on their own direct to consumer because they don't want to be censored. We saw this with Louis C.K. with all of his specials, and we just saw this with Andrew Schultz with his special. He put it out direct to consumer, and now cutting out the big corporations because cancellation only exists when big corporations are involved.
Yeah, when money is involved.
Yeah, but here's to say that if you have a big enough fan base yourself, it doesn't necessarily correlate to your money being cut off. If your fans care about you, if you go direct to consumer, it just has to do with big corporations who have these sponsorships. So if you're on an SNL, on something like a cable TV show, you're going to get canceled. If you get canceled, that's going to go away because big corporations aren't going to like vouch for you unless you're Dave Chappelle and Netflix. But for everyone else, you kind of have to rely on your fans because canceling is never usually your fans turning against you. That's just falling off usually. I never really see someone who's like lost their fans, their core fans over a cancellation. Even Bill Cosby, people will be like, nah, bro, Bill Cosby show, man, that show though. People go crazy about that show still. Talk about, my dad has actively bought Bill Cosby records after the fact. Like vintage ones. I'm like, and he's showing me like, check this out.
It's going to be valuable in the next.
And I'm like, you're crazy. He still be playing the remix to Ignition, but like.
It's the remix into Ignition.
It's such a good song. It's a good ass song.
Mama rolling that body got me 3 decades in prison.
But that's where I don't ever think that the core fan base ever gets turned off of a cancellation. It's just corporations. So do we feel like now we're going to have to basically just build our fan bases ourselves and do this direct to consumer market? Or do you think that these corporations will finally fold to giving notes because if no one's going to go to them, then basically the artists have all the leverage now?
Man, I have no clue. I don't know. I don't watch the whole issue enough to know where it's heading.
It's weird.
It's weird because I don't know what the percentage is, and
Right.
I don't know if it's 50-50 or 60-30.
I'm just wondering because I guess it's all about like that voting with your dollars and views concept where it's like, what is the consumer going to do? Like I've been seeing this with subscription culture, right? Like when I first saw it, it was a weird thought to me of like, so we're just going to subscribe to everything now, meaning we're going to have to pay for anything that we want to consume.
I mean, at this point, I do got Hulu, HBO Max, Netflix.
But go smaller than that. There we go. But we start going smaller than that when you're starting to subscribe to individuals, right? It's one thing to subscribe to a big platform that has a lot of different types of content. Like you subscribe to an Apple Music, you're getting all the songs. What about subscribing just to Drake? You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, that idea of like each one of these comedians, I'm subscribing to individual Patreons. You know what I mean? So it's like, was that going to be a model that continues to be the way, and do we stop caring so much about the big conglomerates that have everybody and start being like, well, who do we personally support? Who do we legitimately watch? Because how many other comedians other than Dave Chappelle are you watching on Netflix?
Man, if that was any other comic, it would probably be a whole lot. But no, I just watch it.
But meaning, well, most comedians don't even watch comedy because they don't want to have that parallel thinking issue and someone, subconsciously making a joke someone else made or wanting to steal someone's style. You want to just kind of keep your head down and focus on your craft. But
I see Chappelle at such a different level that I honestly think like I won't ever reach the level he's at. So
do you feel
it's more of like I just see my hero on stage. It's like watching a Superman movie or something.
When I hear him talk like for that school acceptance, whatever that special thing that he put out was, it almost seemed like he just and he kind of leans into it with the ego, but like this natural talent. Like sometimes there's something naturally that has to be there, and then you can build and compound on it. But like almost like there's these weird one in a generation talents that's like, no, you were kind of meant to do this.
Oh yeah.
Like this is what you were designed for.
Oh yeah. God put you on this earth specifically to tell jokes.
Yeah. I mean? And luckily you landed in a time period where you can actually make money off telling jokes. Mm-hmm. Think about being back in the day when you were literally just the jester or whatever it is, or the joker. Like,
I mean, hey bro, jesters didn't have it bad. There was this one story of this jester who was so hilarious. The king just gave him land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I don't know much about jesters, but just from that story, I would just assume that jesters.
If you're good enough.
Yeah, if you're good enough, I'm pretty sure there are bad jesters. Like bro, to the fucking behead this motherfucker.
Imagine that much, because look, we're afraid of being canceled. Imagine being beheaded for your jokes.
Hell yeah.
Too far.
It was gonna be for your head rolling across the goddamn field.
But no, it is kind of interesting because it's like, I'm just wondering how far the subscription model can go, and then if not, where's the next thing? Like, how much farther are we willing to go? I think we're starting to shy away from like Netflix. Disney Plus is the number one streaming platform as far as subscriber amounts over Netflix, and that's like officially been surprised worldwide.
I feel like because there's a whole lot of nostalgia with Disney Plus. Like,
and new stuff.
New stuff, and then but not even that, bro. I've been watching Toy Story like once a week.
Yo, Lizzie McGuire, you go back, you like, wait, they have all the That's So Ravens?
Yes, I'm saying they got all That's So Raven, Boy Meets World, which is one of my favorite TV shows.
You get to watch Cheetah Girls 1, 2, and 3.
All right, well, I hated 1, 2, and 3. Cheetah. I hated sing-alongs going on. That's why I didn't
musicals. You weren't into the musicals. None of the high school musicals either.
No, only watched them because I thought Vanessa Hudgens was just gorgeous.
So that's what I said at first. I told myself, nah, bro, it's straight up because Vanessa. Like, there's no way.
Was just bad.
And then afterwards, after the third one, I was like, yo, I think these songs kind of slap. I started realizing, I was like, I was by myself, I had to have a conversation with myself, and I'm like, yo, I think these songs just slap. Because like.
I mean, I like the one.
We ain't gonna even get into it. That one's good, but I don't know. There's something about the emotional ones for me, like the the karaoke scene where Gabriella and whoever the fuck, Troy, I guess, Zac Efron's character, meet for the first time and do that karaoke song, and you're like, oh man, this is about to be something. This is about to be something off this karaoke chemistry alone. But let's hop out. I'm getting to my feelings right now about High School Musical. I've been reminiscing. I'm gonna hop on Disney Plus after this podcast. But
I'm gonna watch me some Toy Story.
But that's the thing is that is one thing too. It's kind of hard. I don't know if you noticed this in the movie sphere a lot. It's kind of hard for us to care about original ideas now. We kind of have to have remakes because we care more about the nostalgia. Like, what's the top movie right now? Top Gun.
Yeah,
like just a remake.
Yeah.
So it's like, unless it's Jordan Peele, one's really made. And even he remade Boogeyman.
I just think there's a lack of original ideas for the sense that nostalgia is very profitable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. But it's like, how many freaking Fast and Furious is we gonna make though? Like, do we need to continue?
True. And how many Batman movies? How many Spider-Man movies?
And how many different multiverses of each one of these movies are we gonna have?
Man. But I'm at this point in my I'm missing the original. I'm missing original like products, man. Like I'm talking shit about the Batman, but like I like the Batman because it felt new. It was from a director's perspective without any studio interference. So I like the Batman because it approached the comic book genre a little bit differently, and it was way more director driven. In contrast to like these Marvel movies, you see like there's a bit of shoehorn in from the higher ups, the people that actually make the money from these movies. Like what scene I didn't like in Endgame? Well, I felt like it was just so forced. Remember in Endgame when they were fighting Thanos?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Captain Marvel comes down like, "Hey, we got this." And you see all these women just come out of nowhere. Like,
yeah,
we can take them. I'm just like, word, really? This is it was so forced.
Now, it's also like, wait, we did all this work. Y'all just gonna come in after the fact?
Yeah, like, and then where's everybody else at? What kind of everybody's gonna? So I don't know. It was just weird. Like she has help, and it was just all the girls that showed up. Even Mantis. You remember Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy? The fuck is she gonna do?
So
niggas asleep.
That's the thing too. Is that's been a big, and then that one's a really hard one. I always don't know how I feel about this situation where it's this forced diversity, where it's like not just is this person the best to do the job, but it's like we have check marks to fulfill.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of like draws away from the art.
It does.
And it also every time I hear someone talk about it is white dude, so it's kind of like it's kind of hard to listen to it because it just seems like they're just being like, we want our jobs back. But like when you see it from certain perspectives, you're like, all right, so this is the same movie except what if they were women, like Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? I'll be like, okay, so that's what we're doing now. Like, I mean, if it's really good and that was the people who needed to be in it, cool. But it just seems like these identity movies where it's like this is about this identity, not necessarily about is this a good movie that happens to be about these people.
Yeah, man.
That gives the story of someone truly from the situation. It's let's make this movie, and that seems kind of, for one, it's a lot of messaging as opposed to just like pure entertainment. Like, let's just make a movie that's like legitimately good. And then like, if this person played this the best, then so be it. But like, also it doesn't even seem real because that's not how normal people like women don't sit around talking about being women all day. Like, you know what I mean? They're just like doing shit.
Bro, I can't remember who was talking about this, but man, it comes like, all right, the WNBA.
Yeah. Oh, nobody, Bill Burr.
All right, I think he was talking about how didn't he say like nobody watches it?
Bill Burr did you watch Bill Burr's most recent special?
Yeah.
So his whole idea, which was, don't make it our problem. We're over here being, taking care of our dudes watching men's sports. You guys are watching the Kardashians and shit. The money goes to where the eyes are. Y'all are the ones who are not watching y'all's own sport, and y'all are making it our responsibility. Telling us, y'all are already watching sports, go watch some women's sports.
Yeah, I was like, he ain't lying.
He's not lying, because why are the women not watching the WNBA?
But why should the WNBA need to be paid more? Well, how about you support them so they can?
Right. Because, I mean, it's a subsidized league. Weird. That was his whole thing. Like, men are already subsidizing the money for them to play.
Yeah, and there's more. Aren't there more women in this country than they are men? So
more than likely.
Yeah, so something y'all just not paying attention to sports like that. Y'all watch the Kardashians, you're like, oh, look at these housewives. Oh, yes, I want to be. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, and that. Hold on? We gotta be.
Where are women's head?
Let's be a little toxic for a quick second because I'm just going to rattle off Andrew Tate-isms to you so that we can knock them out the park. Another thing that he said, which is one of the funniest things, which tied into this joke and made me think about him in Corla, when he'll say women are addicted to drama, they need drama in the relationship. Because their idea of relaxation is drama. They want to watch the Kardashians. They're like, let me relax for the night. Let me put on a murder podcast where someone is getting, raped and beheaded so that I can rest easy at night. And basically saying that if you as the man don't bring drama into the relationship, then they'll either get bored or they'll bring the drama in themselves, either involving another guy or, some other sort of drama. So if you don't take control of the drama, then, you're setting yourself up for failure. Idealistically, they're so addicted to the drama that you got to bring it into the relationship. This is one of his isms.
Well, I'm not married, so do you just come home and just like break shit just because your girl won't leave?
No, but I think he's talking about in regular relationships. At this point, we married. I mean, that he also says why get married? Why get the government involved in anything? You can, be committed to a woman if you want or whatever. But he also says you shouldn't live with a woman full time. Because now listen to this and tell me how you feel about this one. He goes,
I like to cuddle. I'm a sensitive guy.
And you can cuddle, but you got to basically go back to the other crib because he says you got to be around the bros, basically, because
get that homie over hoe shit out of here.
No. Basically, when you're around other competitive men, it makes you more competitive. When you're home with a woman full time, she's going to do what a woman should do, and she's going to make sure you're comfortable. She's going to make sure you're living well. And what that's going to do is that's going to reduce your drive. That's going to make you comfortable, and you're not going to basically be at your peak self. If you're around a bunch of competitive men and everyone's doing push-ups, are you going to be the only one saying you're not going to do push-ups? So now you're competing with the guys. You're seeing what they're doing. So now you feel like you got to do more, and it breeds the best situation for productivity and for your motivation. If you're with your woman, basically you're gonna just get soft and you're gonna get lazy and you're not gonna want to keep on going. You need to be around competitiveness.
I disagree with that. I mean, I'm the type of person just knowing I have a good girl by my side. It just really makes me want to be better in a way that it's I'm not worried about what they're doing. I want to be the better version of myself. So I disagree with that.
All right, we got something you disagree with Andrew Tate on on this stuff. But no, so he be saying crazy stuff like that, and
I get it.
You're for certain people, I
know there's certain people out there that just they don't get motivated enough. Like comics, there's some comics out there that, they don't get motivated until they come into the comedy scene and see people that they haven't seen in a while just get better.
Or doing stuff wait, they're hosting what now? Who are they?
Yeah, so
they're working with who now?
I get that, but for me, I don't know. I would become a better person and get my dick sucked every morning.
I'll wake up in a better mood, funnier.
I'd be funnier, hell yeah.
You know how hard it is to be funny with all this misery? With all this pent up sexual frustration?
I'm saying, man.
But man,
the homies ain't gonna do that shit.
That was my thing. I mean, and I said this before, does that mean, if that logic is true, that we all have, if it's a spectrum, a certain percentage of homosexuality in us because we're out here looking for validation from the bros? If we're out here being man, I hope that dude thinks I'm cool. I hope he thinks that my Bugatti looks nice. You ever notice there's a lot of things that men do that we say is for women but isn't? It's only certain women give a fuck about what Jordans you got on. It's the dude across the street who gives you the head nod that actually gives you the validation when you're wearing an OG pair of Jordan 1s. Mm. No girl is unless she's a very specific niche sneaker girl, is going to be oh my gosh, girl, he got on them OG 11s. That you're doing that for the bros. You're doing that for the homies to be hey bro, look what that dude got.
No, that's a very interesting perspective. I agree to an extent. You know what I mean? But I can't say it for myself. Look at the way I dress, nigga.
I see you got. Hey, bro, you looking crazy with them superstars on, bro. Don't act like I didn't see that when you walked in the door.
Oh, get the fuck out of here, bro.
I saw you with them Adidas superstars, and don't be acting like I ain't peep you when you walked in the door.
In front of this camera, I'm barefoot right now. I don't got anything on my feet.
But man, I think we got what we need. I appreciate you coming by today. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. We want to have you back if we can.
Oh yeah, because I didn't know it was over with. I would have been straight to the point instead of joking around too much.
But nah, I actually I like the whole joking around. I like us being able to get off on tangents. It was a lot of fun. But tell your theos that we're here being reckless, speaking for you and for your people.
I speak for women everywhere.
And we by the way, I just want to put it out there. We speak on behalf of all men. I just hope you guys understand that we are speaking on behalf of all men
and women.
And women. alike. We're basically telling you what to and to not believe.
And rapists and pedophiles and
I don't know about that. That's a little wild. That's a little wild. Want to know the craziest? I'm just going to end on this. One of the wildest lines I had ever heard in rap history was the intro of the Joey Badass XXXTentacion song, where Joey Badass says, "I catch all the diseases in the world, so the world ain't got no more diseases." So I'm just going to leave y'all on that. And
what the hell?
We'll be back next week talking reckless. Pull up to Anchor, drop the anchor, and we out. Bye.
I got A's, so people with A's.
He said it. Gonorrhea.